the session would be recorded. Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all on behalf of ILM Lucknow family to our next line of web series, which is live on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for signing in on our official YouTube channel. It will be an interactive session with our students, faculty members, and other audience across the country who are watching us live. The topic for today's webinar is Data was the New Oil, Meaningful Insights of Pure Gold. And to share the insights on the topic, we have Mr. Tarun Kumar Kalra, who is based in Singapore and heads the global sales for Credolab. Credolab is a leading fintech company in the space of AI-driven alternate database digital scorecards that predict delinquent behavior patterns. He loves to track global macro trends to identify value, inconsistencies, and disruptive models. Having said that, I can easily array him as someone who has an eye for detail and is extremely data and number driven. Mr. Tarun is a Lucknow boy and he did his master's in international finance from London School of Economics, in addition to an MBA in finance from Lucknow University. So now I welcome our guest for today, Mr. Tarun Kalra. Hello, Tarun sir.
Thank you very much, Jyoti. I appreciate the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here in the midst of you all.
And thank you so much for carving out time for us and joining us for today.
Thank you.
Now over to you, sir.
I will take it up from here. Thank you very much. So once again, thank you to all of you who have taken the time to get on to this session with me. While the topic is about data and how we can make more meaningful insights and decision making, I am going to be using this as an opportunity to interact with you all. We are all in the global economy in very unprecedented times. It's probably something which not just you young students, but nobody on this planet in their living memory has seen something like this. So we are all in it together. However, what will differentiate one from the other is how you react to this situation. So I'm going to be using this next 1 hour as an opportunity to interact with you. Towards the end, take in as many questions as you have, but on the way also re-emphasize the importance of data-based career opportunities for you all as you step out into the world. Jyoti's already given an introduction about me, and let's get cracking straight away. So before I start, I just want to play a video. I love this. And I always say your journey starts with an impossible dream. So as every individual who is on the call, have a look at this video and we'll take it up from there.
Essay about the future. In the future, a telephone will be so small that we can put it in our pocket and take it with us everywhere. We can see whom we're speaking with on a small screen, and we can watch the news and TV shows on the phone all day. We can also listen to the radio by putting tiny speakers into our ears. The phone will have a built-in camera. You can see live football matches on the phone. You can play fun games and send pictures and messages invisible through the air. There's also a kind of gramophone inside the phone, and thousands of great songs will come into the phone through the air. And do you know what else? You can make your own movie with your phone, and you can record songs, and you can even play online.
So, well, if you saw this, there was a little girl who talked about how a phone could look like in the future, and everybody in her class thought her to have lost her mental balance, so did her parents. But what she was talking about is a reality we all have been living with for a while. So this video always helps me tell people what you think today might not look realistic and you might look very stupid, but it's only people with dreams who go the distance. So think as wildly as you can, use your skills to make those dreams come true. So this was about setting the stage for our discussion. Now, before we get about data, I'm trying to make it as light. So, when I was in talks with Jyoti and Abbas, we were trying to see data science, artificial intelligence, but I took an opportunity to try and keep it as day-to-day life driven, as simple for you all to understand the importance of data, which is being generated around us in our everyday life. For example, if you look at this slide, it says data never sleeps. Firstly, in today's global world, you sleep, but the rest of the world doesn't. There is so much happening on the internet every minute. You have Uber bookings, you use Facebook, you use Instagram, you're using the Apple downloads, you're ordering food. There is so much activity happening on the internet and through your smartphone devices. But come to think of it, the services that get to you are all a function of the analytics and insights that are being made out from the data you as individuals are generating for these companies. So you are a source of data, but the manner in which the services come back to you, how you consume them, how they are priced, is all a function of the analytics that go behind it. So today, let's delve a bit deeper into how data analytics driven insights are an important skill set to have in every career-oriented individual. Now, what really is data analytics? Just trying to keep it simple. It's your ability to manage and analyze the data for business process improvements and outcomes, and to ensure your customers have a better experience. Simple. Let's cut the complications of data science, artificial intelligence, neural learnings. Let's keep it simple. Your, as an individual, ability to analyze the data available to you and around you, present it in a meaningful manner, make meaningful decisions that help your business, help you as an individual, and help your customers. That is it. Now, this is relevant for every industry. I know you all as young students, somebody would be aspiring to make a career in financial services. Someone might want to go into telco. Someone might work for the government. Someone in education, retail sector, web media. So I'll give you different examples of how things happen. Now, if you look at web media, right? So suppose you are on a website browsing for something. Now, when you are on the website, you would notice certain specific ads pop up for you. Now, how do they pop up? The ads that pop up for me in my browser would be different than yours. It is because your behavioral patterns of how you do the internet browsing is available to the companies that are targeting you. Now, content monetization. I'll give you a very stark example. When that ad pops up on your screen, there are multiple brands who want that ad to be popped up in front of you. However, a real-time auction happens on the web, a real-time auction, wherein it is said that right now, so many people are streaming this app. If I were to put it for the next 5 seconds, this is what I would get as a pricing. There is a real-time auction which happens. You don't even know it's happening behind the scene. And the ad, the brand which pays the maximum is the ad that comes on your screen, which you mostly go and click to that cross button on the top there. But the digital marketers are spending millions and millions of dollars. And this is how the likes of Google's and Facebook make money, right? Your email is free. Your Google photographs which you store are free. Your Google Drive is free. But they are making billions and billions of dollars of revenue. So you've got to understand they clearly have an inkling, an understanding of what can be monetized, who would pay for it, and how do they price it. All this is driven by analytics which happen behind hundreds of thousands of users which go and surf the web for different reasons. You could be looking to order food, you could be looking to book your air tickets, you could be doing anything. All that data is going behind into meaningful insights. Telco. We say, oh, this prepaid card is very expensive, this is not good, wish it had 1 GB data in it. Now, how do telcos come up with products and pricing? All your usage patterns, like if you go and do a prepaid top up, do you use it more for data? Do you use it for more incoming calls? What's the average duration of your outbound call? Do you call another telco provider, another operator, or the same one? All this data is available with them. But if you don't make the insights, it has no meaning. So their pricing, their plans and packages which are launched, 499 plan, this plan, all this is an output on the basis of the patterns they have seen through usage coming in from consumers like you. So it is very data driven. They understand where next to put their tower so that the signal doesn't drop. They see trend analysis of usage patterns. Are these usage patterns happening because of permanent usage, or there was a temporary spike because of something? So how you offer your services, how you structure them, how you position them, and how you expand is simply oriented around that. Look at financial services. A lot of you would be aspiring to go and join the banks, asset management companies, mutual fund companies. They all, actually financial services is at the forefront of data utilization. So I'll give you an example. Like Jyoti was mentioning, I work for a company which predicts the probability of default when any one individual applies for a loan. Now, how do we do that? When someone applies for a loan on a bank's mobile app, in real time, we assess the behavioral patterns of that individual, take that data onto the cloud server, score it, and send the score back to the bank, which predicts that the behavioral patterns exhibited by this potential borrower, in all likelihood, this person will default on your loan. Now, this has got nothing to do with your income statement or your ability to repay. We are talking about intent. So this is data-driven insight, which is predicting probability of default. It's very different from a credit bureau check. Same type of solutions are being used for fraud. The moment someone applies to a bank for a service offering, immediately you can tell if this device has been used in any fraudulent activities before. And you give that alert to the lender real time. So most of you could be using these services where you go buy something online, and then at the time of checkout, I've heard in India, even when you book a restaurant table for a night and you spend about 3,000 rupees, even that can be converted into 3 months installment. So now before a lender gives you that 3-month installment, they have already done their analysis on you. It's not just a blanket, just give the money. They have done an analysis on you in your ability of how your wallet usage has been across e-commerce companies, how your behavioral patterns have been. So all this is already happening. Look at portfolio analysis and portfolio managers in large banks. Look at robo-advisors. It is not a wealth manager who is now discussing with you which stocks to invest in, when to buy, and when to sell. These are analytics-driven programs which are doing all these things. It's very commonly said, machines have no emotions, and that's why they make better decisions. Let's take an example as an individual. You could have shares of Reliance with you. You have had it for many years and you are emotionally attached to it. So when the price is going down, you would still say, nah, I'm sure it'll recover. The robo-advisory algorithm is going to use multiple trends. It would see what's happening in the petrochemical industry globally. It would track the oil prices are coming down. It would see similar companies have crashed by 20%. So the trigger point for them to sell would be very different from the emotional driven decision you would do. You would invariably go and buy a stock your friend tells you over dinner. But the robo-advisory or the analytic-driven algorithms don't do that. How do they come to you and say, hey, you as an individual, you should invest so much in equities, so much keep in fixed deposits? They are using these analytics-driven assessment where they have observed in the past how these portfolios have happened and how people in different age groups react differently. So marketing campaigns, customer experience and customer satisfaction. So I'll give you another AI-driven example. When you call up a call center for some issue related to your credit card or your payment not having been processed, there are intelligent algorithms running in the call center and your call is diverted to the call agent who can best handle you as an individual. So come to think of it, even before someone picks your call, they know who you are. What is your behavioral pattern? You are someone who usually shrieks at everybody. You have always had very difficult queries. You always call to ask for new products, but never really buy them. In real time, they transfer your call to an analyst based on these things. Even language preferences, this is real time. So those routers in the call center, when for a few seconds your call is waiting to be connected to the right agent, they are already using these type of analytics to make sure you get the right service. So you are handled the right agent who can manage someone like you. We are in the midst of COVID-19, right? A lot of research is happening on the vaccine build, the DNA structure, how antibodies are developed. It is all data driven. All data around multiple countries is being crunched to understand the output of each of these experiments and researches. So what I'm trying to tell you is that data is touching you in every aspect of your life every day. What you are doing, even your Aadhaar driven arrangement with the government now, they have some information about you. So when they reach out to you, you don't have to re-provide those information. Your PAN card is linked to your Aadhaar card. These are the starting blocks of the customer analytics driven decisions. Even for education, there are large educational institutions who run these analytics to understand which could be the best which could be the best students for them to attract to their universities. That is how they launch their campaigns to attract the students to come and join their campuses. In the US, a lot of universities run these programs to target Chinese students in this segment from these schools who have the appetite to pay, and then they go after it. So student demographics, student performance, which year the academic year ends, which would start here, which would be the best segment. All this is data analytics. So when I was speaking to Dr. Jyoti before, I was talking how many students are interested in business analysis, data analytics. Now, come to think of it, it's not rocket science. It is all happening around you. And if you have these skills, you will understand the role that you will go into better, and you will perform and succeed better. Now, what is the source of this data? The source of so much of data generation is the expansion of the internet. If we look at the penetration rates across countries, while Asia just has 53.6% penetration, it has 2.3 billion users. So the sheer size of the numbers in Asia is what is fueling this age of data creation. While the developed economies are very mature, the real proof point of harnessing the power of data generation and meaningful insights is relevant for countries like Asia, regions like Asia, Africa, and Latin America. These are the regions which are upcoming. They have an aspirational middle class, and they're looking for new services and offerings. Now, I'll share another interesting anecdote with you. Nowadays, smartphones are very pervasive. Almost everybody seems to have a smartphone because the range of smartphones is very different. You could have very affordable Android devices to the iPhones. That range is very wide. Most of the emerging economies, including India, are mostly Android-based. Close to about 85 to 90% of the people have Android devices, and the remaining have iPhone or the iOS environment. However, there was a research done and which said that the smartphone owner percentage, like how many people own smartphone in a particular country, is directly linked to the per capita GDP of that country. So effectively, it means richer the country, higher the penetration of smartphones. Now, India has seen a phenomenal jump in its per capita GDP in the last 10 years, and so has the smartphone penetration. And this is creating and fueling huge amount of data. Not everything is being used to make meaningful insights. There is a big gap between what can potentially be done. If you look at the world map and you see the percentage internet penetration, India is at 38%. I've been reading some reports that in this lockdown, this percentage has gone up much higher because people, even in rural areas, have had no option but to adopt and adapt to the internet way of living. I was reading another interesting report in India that for the first time, the internet penetration in rural areas has gone higher than urban areas. Because most of the people in tier 2 semi-urban areas have had to use internet till now, they were not. Because most of the engagements during the lockdown have become digital. So come to think of it, what couldn't change in multiple years has changed in 2 months. The traffic and people moving to internet and looking for their new experience and new offering is more on the web now. This means going ahead as India generates more data, they need more people who can make a career out of data analytics and excel in that space. So these are the leading indicators of how the industry is evolving and what is the potential. Now let's look at this interesting chart. We've always had very simple assessments, from the very early days when I grew up, you could either be a doctor or engineer. Then you started having different careers. You could be a banker also, you could be a software coder, you could be in the shipping industry as well. So career opportunities have changed and evolved, and they have been a direct function of the opportunities that are available. So when you all as students step out, you've got to understand what is that ecosystem around you. How will the industries look like around you as you get into your jobs? While the first job is important, you've also got to see how you will transition into your career. So you've got to have the skills which have the visibility to last for the foreseeable future. So if you look at this chart, it talks about multiple industrial opportunities in the retail space as well as institutional, where there are opportunities that can create more and more jobs. So if you look at what I talked about use cases in my earlier slides, the digital content creation, health, public services is what I talked about as the government, housing, which is banking, education, mobility, travel and hospitality. Yes, of course, in today's pandemic, travel and hospitality as an industry has suffered the most. But when these industries are the one which are harnessing the power of digital-led revolution. This was a study done by McKinsey, and I'm happy to share this with you. And you've got to keep an eye on which are the industries you are going to be making a career into, and where do they land up in these type of ecosystem. Are they the ones which are going to be growing? Are they the ones which have skill gaps? And then do you have those skills to fill those gaps? Coming back again to the industries which are adopting artificial intelligence. Now, again, let's not get too hyped about what is artificial intelligence. The ability for an algorithm to analyze huge amount of data, understand the patterns and trends, and then predict what would happen is artificial intelligence. It is just like you take a full Mahabharata and just plug in the USB drive into them and they know it. So artificial intelligence is the more data you feed to the algorithm, the more intelligent it gets. So if you feed the full library into that algorithm knows as much as that. And that is artificial intelligence. I have been asked multiple times, would AI and robotics replace humans? I say no. Human element is the most important element. As I said, machines have no emotions and empathy. The careers which are of the future are human beings who know how to harness artificial intelligence. So if you as an individual understand data-driven outcomes and data-driven solutions, these human beings will be invaluable going ahead. Technology is easy to create, difficult to manage, difficult to use. So if we look at this chart, which talks about which are the industries which have adopted artificial intelligence-driven solution, and what is the growth in demand they have seen in spending in the last 3 years and the next 3 years. Right up there, you will see financial services. As I mentioned, financial services has been at the forefront of using data analytics-driven solutions. High-tech and telecommunications, media and entertainment, construction, travel, tourism, these have been laggards because they are more hard labor dependent, right? Whereas in construction, also a lot of data-driven solutions are being done. However, this is very low compared to the industries which are at the forefront. So if you as someone or the professors at your university and you all there, if you want to guide students I strongly recommend that anybody who's trying to make a career in banking, financial services, or telecommunication, or transport and logistics must invest some time in developing skills around data analytics, business analysis, or simple pure statistics, right? Just build those abilities to interpret data and present it. Now, if you look at me, what am I doing with you? These charts have not been created by me. This is McKinsey report. The other charts have also been done by other research houses. I am trying to make a meaningful sense of this information and talk to you and present to you in a manner that you can understand if this is important for you or not. Now, your ability to, even if you go into a normal job, it's all about data, about your performance, about your ability to forecast business, about understanding the marketing budgets, the competitive pressure, the pricing structure. It's all detailed Excel sheets or programs or algorithms. So you just cannot escape this anymore. This is a must-have in your education portfolio. Now, when I talk about all these things, it's very important for me to also present to you that the companies that are providing solutions like these are seeing a continuous upward trend. So companies globally who provide business intelligence and analytics software, they have continuously seen their revenue increase over a period of years, and that trend continues. Now think intuitively, if an industry is growing, there are skill gaps, and the solution providers in that industry are constantly growing, they are the ones who would be constantly hiring. Companies who are in their downward trend or are seeing a dip in their revenue, they are not the ones who are hiring. They are the ones who are cost containing. So global BI and analytics software application market, tremendous opportunities. And don't be under the impression that anyone who joins a software company is a coder. You don't need to be a coder. You need to be someone who can get the technology understanding to a customer's pain point to address that solution. These are what business analysts are. So they know the technology, they know how it works, they can crunch data, and they also understand the problems their customers are facing, and they bridge that gap. The same thing in the adjacent chart can be seen for big data and the big business analytics market. A continuous trend in performance and a compounded annual growth rate of 13.2%. Now, wouldn't you as individuals want to be in this space where the trends are in an upward trajectory? And even in the post-COVID-19 situation, data will continue to be generated. Companies will struggle to interpret that data and make meaningful decisions and insights. Now, this is something actually I saw today. I'm not a big fan of WhatsApp, but someone sent this to me and I found it relevant to share it with you all. The patterns in the post-COVID-19 situation are changing. Organizations are changing, economies are changing, governments are changing. The expectation from employees will change as well. You all have the great advantage of starting in this environment. People who have been working for 20, 25 years will struggle to adapt to the new normal. But you all have the privilege of stepping into this new normal. You have no baggage. You don't have to change. But first you had to travel for 1 hour to go to office, work from 9 to 5, take the 5 o'clock bus or the train, come back home by 7. It could change. Going ahead, the work patterns would change, especially for you all in the industries you will get to go. Things will be more output driven. You will have less monitoring and coaxing by your managers. You will be successful if you are self-driven. You'll be successful if you are output driven. You'll be successful who can take vague assignments and try and make the best structure out of it and present. You will be the one who doesn't wait for a promotion every 2 or 3 years. You will create your own opportunities. You can work from anywhere. You don't have to leave your city and go to Bangalore or Mumbai to work. If you have the right skills and your job can be done remotely, then you don't need to leave your hometown. Now, these are some of the things which are changing. It's very difficult in companies to get audience with the super boss, right? You always have to go through the ad secretary, get some time. But in today's Zoom environment, they are all on the call together. So if you are talking the right things, You are getting the right visibility. So it is going to change, but the future will only belong to people who learn how to take initiative and will move ahead. Now, I talked about all those things and said there are skill gaps. I've taken some anecdotes from some of the research that I did. It clearly keeps talking about data technologies and skill gap. Now, currently 70% of the job postings are for data scientists with less than 5 years experience. Now, again, don't get obsessed with data scientists being a true scientist. There are hardly any courses in India which give you a data science degree. Your ability to understand data, understand business analysis, understand analytics, and comfort with some algorithms on the computer, get you to that. You'll be paid much more than normal salaries. The average salaries in all these industries are between 10 to 14 lakhs per annum after your 1 or 2 years of experience. Now, isn't that the line you would want to go for? Now, everybody's talking about massive skill shortages, and this is not just in India, globally. So if you all have aspirations to go out of India sometime, build these skills, because Indians internationally are known to be the ones who have good, strong analytical skills. If you continue to show that, you have opportunities to work for multinational companies overseas as well. So make your career work around these data analytics driven skills. Now, we all know these are unprecedented times and everybody's anxious, right? We still don't know what will happen in the next 1 month. But the people who have the right skills will succeed. So what I will suggest to you all, be someone who sells value. So even if you go for an interview in your campus placement or elsewhere, don't talk about what you have done, what were your grades and all. No, talk about what you can do for that company. Where can you add value, right? Your GPS scores would probably have already been shared by your placement committee with those guys. They have that data. Talk about something which is not in there and you can deliver. Talk about your focus on digital. Even if you want to make a marketing career, talk about digital marketing. The new mobility-driven opportunities will give you more work from hometown patterns. So earlier it used to be work, then work from home, and now it's work from hometown. You could be in the city you are. With the right connectivity, you could be creating so many opportunities. Those of you who want to make a career in logistics, supply chain management, operations management, a great time to be in this industry. We are all talking about supply chain lines being uprooted from China and moving a little bit to India, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. So India will be a beneficiary. Rather, in yesterday's newspaper, I read about a German shoemaker who has moved their factory from China to Agra. Now, this will create job opportunities in logistics, operations management, supply chain management. Right? So these are the skills to be. This is just one example. There will be hundreds of such things happening. And I believe the Prime Minister of UP has clearly said they have huge land to give out, tax breaks and other things. So they will attract industry. This will create opportunities for you. This is the best time to show your attitude, not your aptitude. Your scores, your grades, your grade 10 marks and grade 12 marks are just your aptitude. In today's time, you will win jobs and grow on the basis of your attitude. Show the right attitude in terms of problem solving, value selling, and insight-driven decisioning. You know, we all are said, hey, you take decisions in emotions. No, take fact-based, scientific, insight-driven decision making. You will stand out from the crowd, and you must do that. Now, some of you would want to set up of your own business, right? Entrepreneurship is a very common thing in India, and a lot of people are wanting to get into that space as well. Now, I talked about multiple data, huge amount of data being created. Data center setups will mushroom in India into smaller cities as well. If you want to set up an IT company, set up a digital app development company, someone who gets solution onto the cloud or provides data analytics driven integration solutions. Government will come out with multiple initiatives to set up new supply chains. Be part of those incentives and programs and see if you can create a small industry which can plug in some local manufacturing, because everybody wants supply chains to move closer to home. So you must understand in Northern India, what are the industries? Where do they source their components from? Can you create a factory, funded by the government or supported by the government, and create some of those components which are closer to the one who's consuming it? This is what is about self-reliant India, all that is being talked about. So many migrants are leaving large cities and coming back to UP, Bihar. Usually factories struggle, we don't have labor. This is your opportunity. Labor is coming back there. Give them opportunities, create opportunities. Healthcare, medical infrastructure is another area. After this COVID-19, people will be more careful about their health, and the investment on health will increase. So any business that you have related to, drugs, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, manufacturing, distribution, retailership, supply chain management, a brilliant time to be in that. In the self-reliant India one, I also read about how local tenders would be applicable more to the Indian grown companies and not overseas. Means it gives another opportunity for Indian small scale entrepreneurs to get to these large government orders. Education. Education will be drastically transformed. The way education is imparted is going to change. So I'll give you an example of people who go to the US to study. Now they pay a lot of money. In US, undergraduation costs about 70,000 US dollars, or about 50 lakh rupees a year. Now, one semester is going to happen on Zoom, and they don't even know if the next one will happen in campus. So now students have filed a lawsuit wanting the money back from the universities. The universities are struggling because they are so dependent on the fee paid by overseas students. Just Chinese and Indian students in the US contribute $20 billion to the US economy every year, just because these students go there to study. Now, if they don't go there because they think it's not worthwhile now, classes are happening over Zoom, it doesn't make sense, see the impact. So look at this company Baiju in India, right? It started way earlier. Of course, it's become a very big one. But if you have any idea in mind in which you can take education large scale, or go after a segment which has been deprived or which has not been able to commute physically to go to campuses, phenomenal opportunity. So digital driven education reach out. Think through these ideas. I'm getting to my last slide and then we'll open up for questions. But I always like to end with quotations. Embracing change is the only route for growth and evolution. And Winston Churchill said, to improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. Keep changing your mindset, keep changing your approach to things till you get the winning model. And as Einstein said, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, it's about imagination. In today's digital time, knowledge is uniform. Everybody knows the same thing. You can go to Google and look for something which anybody else can do. It's not that you read that book and someone did not have the money to buy the book, or you went to the library and made some notes, the other person did not. Today, knowledge is available to everybody. What will differentiate you is what do you do with that knowledge? So continue to dream, continue to imagine, make a data analytics approach core to your career progression, and it will hold you in good stead. I will go back to this slide of multiple opportunities, and I will pause for questions now. Professor Jyoti?
Thank you so much, Tarun, for such an insightful one. So while we take a few questions from the audience, I'll actually just say this. I could remember a very famous quote from the past: in God we trust, all others must bring data.
Perfect.
Yeah. So quickly, one question that I got from the audience was, what specific skill sets as a fresher we should be catering to and are required to excel in this field?
So I hope my presentation answered that question, but I think you need to have a business analysis or digital driven skill set added. If it's not part of your main course or curriculum, do an extra course, do a summer internship program, do anything around this, or do it on your own. So a data driven, so you need to give your skill set a digital flavor, a digital and data driven flavor. So these are important skills. I'm not too sure what are the specific courses in the university which you could do, but probably Professor Jyoti could guide, which are the analytics driven additional modules or courses that you could do. But I can give you absolute guarantee that having these additional modules or skills on your resume as a fresher will improve your employability chances.
Next question, something similar to it is, do I need to have a mathematical computer background to excel in this field?
No. If you have a mathematical background, means you have that analytical mind. Now, I also want to be clear on one thing. It's not that this is the only career option, right? So don't get me wrong. As they always say, right, if you judge the fish by its ability to climb the tree, you will always fail it. You've got to see what comes naturally to you. If you're not someone who is very analytical, does not like numbers or data, you will struggle with it. So it's not just mathematical mindset. Also analyze for yourself. It shouldn't be a force fit, because somewhere you will get stuck. But as I said, if you're making a career in marketing, banking, financial services, they are all data driven anyways. So give it more structure. So to answer your question, if you have a mathematical background, it makes things easier. But even if you don't have, you can build this skill set. And again, as I said, you're not doing an engineering degree, right? So if you're doing an engineering degree, then you're a data engineer, then it's all very different. I'm assuming you are doing your management, and additional understanding of data will only make it more relevant. If you have a statistics background, it's more helpful. If you have a mathematical bent of mind, an analytic bent of mind helps you better. But if you have the right will, without those two also, you can excel in this.
Thank you, Tarun. Next in line is a very different question, that should we call Google a giant for data market in future? This is coming from the audience.
Google is a very complex organization. It continues to baffle me, but Google is now what we call too big to fail type of a technology behemoth. They are an advertising platform. They are a marketing company. And now they are diversifying into analytics and cloud-based solution. So yes, Google is a large behemoth, which is marketing, advertising, and an analytics-driven company.
Next in line is, what value can I offer to the organization as stated by you during the interview? This is a key question for students who are actually appearing for the interviews. So how can I answer this? Basically, I get.
As I said, value selling. When you go for your campus interview, do not talk about your grades. Do not talk about your aptitude. Somehow show them your attitude. Means just give them some examples of how you fixed a problem for someone. It could be in your friend circle. It could be in your social. It could be with your professor. It could be a tough assignment your teacher gave. It could be anything outside. When employers come to campus, they're trying to look at people who are self-driven, who like problem solving. Because, corporate careers look very fancy from outside, but when you join, you are just handling problems every day and you are trying to find a solution to them. So if you want to look more valuable and differentiate yourself from other, your grade won't, that he got a B, I got an A. They won't hire you just for that. They will hire a probably C if they showed the right attitude. So I think, firstly, most important skill set is your ability to articulate yourself. Means, can you deliver what you are thinking? How do you show your problem solving skills? Just think through. Everybody does problem solving, but how can you explain it to them? And focus on what you can do for them in terms of creating value. So that's the most important thing. You should know which company you are talking to, what do they do, where could be the gaps, and how you can fill that gap. So remember, preparation is important. It's better to be prepared for something that does not happen than to be unprepared for something that happens. So be prepared, go as strong with that, but give them a value-based approach. And your attitude in this type of approach will come out. And if your aptitude is also good, you make a very deadly combination.
One very interesting question is posted. So, there was a ban in TikTok trending yesterday for posting of obscene content. To counter this, can't SM platforms have AI used to audit the content before publishing? And adding on to how brands should react when they find such an anti sentiment against a platform where they have been promoting. So, this comes
Yes.
from the audience as well.
Yes, good question. When you look at Facebook also, TikTok is still new, Facebook, there are a lot of fake news go there. Now, they have been working very hard to build algorithms to detect fake news. In the US elections 4 years back, and even in India, there have always been claims that, people's sentiments are governed by some Facebook posts, and some of them are fake. They are coming in from pods, they are coming in from automated, setups. The best part about technology is that someone is always one step ahead. So when you create something, these type of people are one step ahead. So you look at cybersecurity, no matter how strong your systems are, people still break in. So what I'm saying is these companies continue to invest. So yes, something like TikTok should be able to block. But remember, the one who succeeds, these type of people who do the wrong things, they need to just win once. The companies need to get it right every time. They keep trying. There must be multiple such posts on TikTok every day, every hour. One of these slip through and we say, oh, wow, they could be having a weak one. So the problem with hackers, the problem with these wrong ones or the thieves or others is they need to succeed once. The organizations and the right people, they need to win all the time. So it doesn't happen. But the positive thing is all these companies are investing in technology to make sure these type of things don't happen. It becomes very tricky for brands to disassociate themselves, but they have to be very careful that if this is a passing event or it's a trend. If it's a passing event, I think the brands don't need to worry about using such platforms. But if these type of things become a continuous trend and the brand looks like being associated with that, then it could be detrimental to the marketing image of the company.
Thank you, Tarun. Next in line is, sir, how is this data-driven environment going to change our personal lives?
Yes. You know, each individual has to understand about data privacy. You need to know what data are you sharing. Most of the time when you download an app, you read their end user license agreement, you say yes, right? Because there are rarely opportunities for you to say no. You either agree or you go out. Now, data consent and data privacy is becoming more important. I believe there's also an act coming up in India which talks about data privacy, who can collect personal information, what type of information can be collected and what can be done with it. That information should never leave the Indian borders. So a lot of awareness is happening about data privacy, but in India, people are still lax. And I'll tell you, the ease with which people put their personal photographs on Facebook. Now, you should be worried about privacy, right? So the problem is people are very liberal in India about sharing things which they shouldn't be sharing, and those go into the wrong hands. So any application that you download on the phone, be careful on what consent you give, because everything is consented. You can check in the app. You can say no to sharing of those information, because your data, while it's important for organizations, you are the owner of the data and you have the right to say no. Now, I'll give you an example. My wife and I were discussing last year about a holiday to Japan. We were just talking, right? And from next day onward, my wife keeps getting alerts about Japanese holiday on her Facebook. How? Does Facebook listen to you? We don't know. I think yes, it does. So you've got to be very careful about what technology you have around you. You go to one website and try and look for tickets to Bombay. From next day, you will keep getting 10 alerts from Spice, Indigo, promotion fairs. Means these guys are tracking everything about you. But why they are doing it? Because somewhere you have consented to it. So we need to increase our awareness levels about data. So when someone gives consent, they are aware what they have given consent for. But data is becoming more intrusive. So yes, it's a very good question. All these type of things are getting a bit too intrusive now. I'm not very comfortable with it either.
I think somebody adding on to how to stay safe in this data-driven world. I think
read what you agree to. So I'll give you an example. There was an app called Temple Run. I don't know, it was many years back. People used to play that game. And now while playing that game, Temple Run used to access your entire contact list. There was no need for it to do it. They used that contact list to sell it to marketers to do campaigns on the email IDs and phone numbers. So they collected such type of information from hundreds of thousands of users. Till regulators woke up and said, why does a gaming app need access to contact list? So then it became that you have got to clearly ask specifically. So I think for you to be safe, you've got to be careful what apps you have on your phone and what permissions have you granted to them.
Thank you, Arun. How can we identify that the digital training courses are actually viable in the future?
Okay, now it's very important what digital course you do. Now, I grew up in Lucknow, and that time there used to be multiple computer coaching institutes, right? NIIT, something called Lakhotia Computer Center, LCC. I don't know if they still exist. No, not everything was good, right? So you have got to be careful which course you do from where. When, as I say, when there is war, it's easy to get admitted into the army because you are needed. So right now there is need for data scientists and data driven. So almost everybody, even doing suboptimal courses, is getting through, but it won't take you further. So be very careful where you do your courses from. I'm sure in your own institute, in your faculty, you would have teachers who could provide you with analytics course. I'm not sure if digital is a course as well in Amity as yet, but do it from good reputed institutions and you will benefit from it. Be careful about doing it where the track record of the institute is not proven.
Next question has been posted. Is it necessary to learn some software to excel in data analysis field?
If you have the knack and you can learn it, for example, Python, like I couldn't, I was bad at software. I still haven't been able to. So I chose to make a career of interpreting data, selling it to customers, understanding their problems, but I couldn't get onto the developing side because I was not good at it. But if you have that knack and you can learn a little bit of these programming languages, means you can not just understand an algorithm, but if needed, make changes to it using the programming language like Python and all, you'll probably be more valuable. And what's happening in the employment market is multiple roles are getting crunched. So if you are someone who can code, also do business analysis and are a good sales guy, you're doing 3 jobs, you'll be paid well. So if you have more skills and you can be more valuable to these companies, yes, of course, it's good. But you must always say which is your primary skill and what is it that you can do. So you're not a coder, but you understand coding and code if needed be.
So, Tarun, is there something difference between data analyst, data scientist, and business analyst? And I guess what specific skills would be required by each of them?
Yes. So, business analyst is a very old school terminology. Business analyst was earlier about converting functional requirement into technical specification document, which the coding team could code. So you were the gap between or the bridge between technology teams and the end customer. These type of roles became very fashionable and fancy in Infosys, TCS, Wipro when the tech revolution happened. Right? People used to say, this guy is very good in coding, but he can't face customers. He can't talk confidently, he can't do. So he will create all this thing, but there'll be a business analyst who will explain it to the customer, get their pushback, explain it to him. So I think it was a suboptimal solution. Then came data analysts because of the wave of big data and everything. So these guys, the business analyst type of roles got morphed into data analytics. Means these guys understand the data problems of the solution of the customer and work with their data science team to bring that solution. Data science is probably in that hierarchy right up there. Usually data science people are PhD holders or engineers, right? But not many people are going there and there is a big gap in the supply. So that is why even non-engineering or non-PhD guys who have shown good statistical, mathematical, and analytical skills can still be data scientists. But theoretically, data science is actually that PhD and that engineering type of roles.
Thank you, Tarun. Next in line is how it is going to affect countries where digital infrastructure is not available. So having said that, according to report in 2019, rural India had 10% more internet users than the urban. So, despite this fact, what are the major challenges that India will face in providing online education in rural areas?
So I think the biggest technology infrastructure problem has been connectivity, last mile connectivity. Now you could lay your broadband, Reliance Jio could do that, anybody could do that, Cisco could provide the network infrastructure, but the end user must have a digital device, the laptop, the iPad, or the tablet, right? So I think the biggest impediment has been this. And we must realize the affordability part as well, right? So it's just like it happened in the French Revolution when they were, protesting, and the Queen said, "What's happening?" They said they don't have bread to eat. So she said, "Okay, then ask them to eat cake." So it's very unfair of us to expect that all these people will have the last mile connectivity for these type of digital services to be delivered to them. They have started using smartphone because cheaper versions of Android smartphones are available. So I think the government and the public sector will invest a lot in India when it comes to the infrastructure readiness. But the last mile connectivity of the smart devices in the hands of individuals. So a sharp student sitting in a small house in a tier 3 city can access online learning provided he or she has a laptop. So that is something which needs to be fixed, but from where you want to initiate, the network connectivity and everything is being fixed in India at an unprecedented pace.
Next in line is, will AI act as a competitor or helping hand for freshers?
Oh yeah, a lot of time people have said, is AI replacing jobs? And this is what I said. I said, if it wouldn't. Rather, AI is enhancing productivity. So come to think of it, what it means. AI is enhancing productivity. And I want to go back to that example of call center, which I did, right? So if there are 100 people in the call center and you get a call, anybody picks it up, who is the freest? And then, nahi sir, I will transfer you to someone else. I can't do it. So wo udhar bhejega. Now, when you have the technology which can guide right people to the right places, they even predict your lunchtime that yes, during this time, the peak load is lesser. These type of calls are lesser. You have your lunchtime during this. Now, these type of AI-driven algorithms are improving productivity, but they are taking away jobs which are mundane, which are monotonous, and which are not value additive. Look at banks. What type of jobs have been lost? The teller one, where you used to go for your passbook update and draft making and queue up and get your pay slip done and all. Those type of jobs are going because they are being replaced by technology. So if you are in this position of value-based selling and all the things that I talked about, AI will only help you. But if you go for a very old school of thought, mundane job, a desk job which can be replaced by technology, you should be worried. There are so many jobs which will be lost to technology, period. But the International Labour Organization has also clearly said many of these jobs will be created, but for people with different skill sets, not the same people. So yes, it's job destruction, but productivity increases and more jobs will be created for people who are designing solutions like these.
So, because of paucity of time, we'll just quickly take up two more questions. One comes, if one is looking for vertical mobility in his or her career in analytics, what suggestions would you like to give?
So, nowadays I was reading an article, all the C-level positions in the organizations are of people who have extremely high analytic skills. If you look at the interviews of the CEOs, CFOs, the way they churn out numbers, their ability to articulate the competitive landscape, the impact on share pricing, the profitability, margin dip up, they all are digitally and analytics-wise savvy. So answering your question, it's not that if you start with a data science role or a data analyst, you will remain that way. But if you have proven yourself initially to be someone who understands the business and analytics together, you could branch off into business roles. You don't have to always remain in the technology track. You could easily move on to business because you will be able to make decisions faster. You'll be able to interpret the data trends faster. And these are leadership skills. So this is where you will be able to differentiate yourself from someone who just understands business, but you understand business trends and you will be able to make more factual, scientific, good decisions for your company, and you will grow faster.
Thank you, Tarun. And last question for this session would be, how should a fresher build up his data analysis portfolio, and what were the expectations of the companies while hiring them?
Do some small assignments within your campus and school. Pick up some data analytic driven assignment and try and understand if you can achieve something. So many self-help things are available. You could create a dashboard, you could create some analytics platform, you could create an analytics research report on something. You could just say, for example, I'll give you could just do a summer internship to try and understand what is the component mismatch of uh, manufacturing companies which are sourcing, how much of that data comes from China. You can make beautiful graphs and analytics and data presentation and say you did a research to understand how COVID-19 will play a role on supply chain management and how India could benefit. It will take a lot of your research, lot of your data analytics, but how you represent those charts, your findings, and what should be the next action items becomes an assignment you did on your own. But it completely shows you to the hirer or to the company that will come to your campuses, yeah, this guy is able to translate a problem, use it with factual information, and come up with recommendations. So either your university should give you such data-driven assignments on projects under the guidance of professors. If not, you do it yourself. But have these type of things ready when you go for your campus interview or any other. That I want to talk to you about how I did this research study. Again, not talking about your grade. You are talking about something which is real life and how you did it. Somebody asked these questions about data privacy, right? Do a research. Say how data privacy will impact the data boom in India. Just write a 3-page report, do something. Just do something different so that you are connected to the real world and you can talk about it in your interview.
Thank you so much, Tarun, for your valuable insights. I'm sure each one of us who have joined us today has gained a lot from the session. Just as a quick concluding statement from your end, what advice will you give us during COVID-19 and post COVID-19 scenario regarding the skills and competencies that we can develop?
I think the biggest skill you can develop in these times is a positive attitude. There is enough mess around. And if you want to stand out as someone, as I said, your attitude, your positive energy, your initiative taking will be important. So while we are talking about the hard skills, data analytics, data science, I think in today's time, the soft skills will probably be more important. Be that someone who walks into the room and passes positive energy. And this comes with your positive thought process. Be optimistic. As I said, you all are young, you are getting into the workforce at a time which is very challenging and tough, but you have the full runway. It's like an airport, right? When you are taking off, if at the last minute you have to abort, you can still come back and taxi. You fail the second abort, you can still come back. Now, if someone who is close to 45, 50, they cannot come back and reinvent themselves in this changed environment. So the workforce, which has been working for 20 to 30 years towards the end of the career, will find it very difficult to reinvent themselves in the post-COVID environment. And anything which is set up in a downturn will always do well, because from here you can only go up. So be positive, continue to build the hard skills that we talked about. But I would personally say soft skills that you gather in these times will probably be more relevant.
Thank you so much, Tarun, for carving time for us and giving us such an insightful session. And yes, of course, this optimistic statement at the end was actually the icing on the cake. So thank you, audience, for joining us today, and looking forward for a few more